I've learned anything, it's that Reventure Consulting is an intellectually dishonest clickbait channel with awful advice about real estate. What I wasn't anticipating was just how transparent Nicholas Gerli can be with his dishonesty. In this video, I'm going to show you how just a touch of manipulation can produce data that supports an argument completely disconnected from reality. I'm Jon Schwartz, a realtor in Los Angeles, California, and going by some of the comments on my last video about Nicholas Gerli and Reventure Consulting, being a realtor doesn't necessarily make me a more trustworthy voice in this conversation. Can't argue with that. All I can say is, please judge this video by its content, not by my job title. I also got some comments in my last video about Nicholas Gerli that I was being disrespectful. So in this video, there will be no name calling or piling on. I'm simply going to point out the intellectual dishonesty hiding in plain sight in Nicholas's most recent video. Actually, I owe Nick a debt of gratitude. I've had an extremely busy week and I was worried I wouldn't have time to post a video. But thanks to Nick, here's a quick and hopefully impactful video to help you digest YouTube with the appropriate grain of salt, especially if the channel you're watching is Reventure Consulting. And that's also why I'm wearing my weekend cash and recording at my desk. So, Nicholas made this video last week called "There's No More Buyers, Google predicting spring 2022 housing crash, ? This seems like a great topic, and it's certainly racked up the views. If Google, which has all the data in the world, is predicting a housing crash this spring, I would certainly want to know. So what Nicholas looks at in this video is search volume for the term real estate. He sees this as a leading indicator for sales volume, and he claims that there's been a precipitous drop-off recently. Let's roll the clip.
And we're going to get things started off by looking at Google search result data over the last 5 years for the term real estate.
Okay, so far I'm with you.
And what I want to point you to is the big hump that started in May 2020 and has basically lasted all the way through September 2021.
So Nicholas points out this big hump that starts in May 2020 and continues until September 2021. Except that's not what we're actually looking at. There's a peak in May 2020, but then quite a trough around January 2021, and then the numbers bounce back around March 2021. Let's just note that and keep watching.
There was a big increase in the amount of people searching for real estate in America.
Did you see that? Like a sleight of hand artist, Nicholas rolled his mouse up the May 2020 peak, jumped over the trough he wants us to ignore, and then continued through the high points of 2021.
America on Google. However, since September, there has been a massive crash in the amount of people searching for real estate on Google.
Massive crash with a sound effect. So here's the thing. We get this graph for about 30 seconds at the beginning of the video, and we never return to it again. Why? Well, let's just take a look at what this graph is actually showing us. Despite Nicholas's claim that there's a massive crash in search volume in January 2022, that low level of interest is in fact on par with historical norms. We hit the high 50s in January 2022, the low 60s in January 2021, the high 50s in January 2020, the high 50s in January 2019, and the low 60s in January 2018. All we're seeing here is the normal real estate sales cycle. Interest, inventory, sales, everything bottoms out in the winter, then picks up through the spring, peaks in the summer, and falls off again in the fall until another bottoming out in the winter. The real estate market is driven mostly by families who mostly want to buy or sell and then buy between school years. Add to that the family-centric busyness of winter with Thanksgiving, Christmas, and New Year's, awful time to undertake selling or buying a house. And then add to that the number of buyers who have to wait for their tax returns in April before they can secure the loan they need, and you begin to see why real estate follows this annual cycle. So it's just dishonest to put up this graph and describe these numbers we're seeing here as a massive crash. It'll get clicks, sure, but it's wrong. What this graph actually highlights, the actual anomaly it's presenting, is the unusually high level of interest in real estate last winter. Last winter was totally unusual in that the market didn't slow down. Days on market stayed extremely low, sale price to list price ratio stayed extremely high, and pricing rose throughout the winter. Usually pricing dips in the winter, even in high appreciation markets like Los Angeles, but last winter was an anomaly. So here's what Nicholas does. 3 minutes into his video, he presents the same search volume data, but as a year-over-year percentage change graph. This shows growth or decline from 1 year prior as a percentage. As you can see, it looks like interest has declined more than usual this year, as much as 16.4% compared to, 9% or 11% in previous winters. But what we're actually seeing is this year's normal numbers being compared to last year's unusual numbers. Nicholas goes even one step more ridiculous when he presents this graph to show the extremely strong correlation.
There's an extremely strong correlation
between search volume and home sales. So first off, there's obviously a correlation between search volume and sales. In the winter, there are fewer searches, fewer buyers, fewer sellers, fewer sales. In the spring and summer, activity on all fronts picks up. That's what we see year in and year out. But Nicholas's unforced error here is making a graph comparing real numbers, specifically new home sales per month, to relative numbers, specifically a year-over-year percentage change in search volume. Straight up, this is just bad analysis. When making a comparison like this, an honest analyst would compare real numbers to real numbers or relative to relative. The correct correlation to investigate is either home sales per month to searches per month or year-over-year home sales change to year-over-year search volume change. So why is Nicholas unnecessarily comparing apples to oranges? Well, probably because only a baloney graph like this has such a foreboding endpoint. I mean, look at how far apart these two lines are. Obviously, the yellow line representing sales is going to fall into the tank like the green line representing search volume, right? I hope that didn't come off as disrespectful. Condescending I can live with, but I do want to be respectful. Okay, one more quickie, just because Nicholas makes this too easy, and then I'm going to wrap this up. Around 7.5 minutes in, Nicholas shares this graph of year-over-year search volume growth and decline for the search term Zillow, and suggests that Zillow closed its iBuyer program because of a lack of traffic to the Zillow website.
I wonder how much of that had to do all of a sudden with a sharp decline in traffic of home buyers to their website in October.
Nicholas, as you must know, Zillow is a publicly traded company, meaning their quarterly financial statements are public information. Just Google it. Zillow shuttered its iBuyer program the same day it released its third quarter financial statements. If you actually look, Nicholas, you'll see that losses from their iBuyer program grew from $253 million to $539 million, and these are losses in the same period that profits from their website grew from $117 million to $407 million. Zillow didn't quit iBuying because their website stopped getting traffic. Zillow quit iBuying because they were hemorrhaging money doing it while making a killing with all their website traffic. But why bother to look at actual numbers if make-believe scenarios get more clicks, right? If you're interested in my other takedown of Reventure Consulting, the one where I'm disrespectful, check it out here. Or watch this video to learn why your starter home should be a duplex. See you next week.